Thanks so much, Clark. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm delighted to be here. As always, humbled and feel privileged to speak at AWE. Good Lord, this conference just gets better and bigger every year. And I think it's even safe to say this may be the conference for XR. I'm just so excited about what I've seen. If you don't know me, I've been in the space of immersive tech for a better part of the last 20 years, a little bit more actually. And I currently work at Unity Technologies. That's the company whose software tools power most of the world's AR and VR content creation. I'm currently head of VR and AR brand solutions, which means that we work with brands to use our content creation tools and our advertising platform to create bespoke branded experiences, marketing activations, and advertising. So at Unity, we have this unique purview. There are thousands of developers using our software every day, and we have partners and partnerships with all the hardware makers doing XR. And so we have this wonderful sort of front row seat to what's going on in the world of XR. And so I'm going to share some thoughts with you about AR today and what's next. This is not a far-reaching vision talk. I'm not going to spin some, tale of what's going on in 10 years. It's kind of what's going on the ground now and what we think might be some challenges out the next couple years. Mostly my thoughts, a little bit of Unity sprinkled in. So let's go. Let's talk first about where we think we are today. If anybody's been in VR for a while, we may be feeling that we are in that trough of disillusionment, that gap of disappointment where things have sort of stalled. The hype was far exceeding the reality. The market sort of corrected to account for that now. And we may be wondering, is that same thing happening for AR? Are we going to hit a chasm where we're not going to hit mass adoption? What is it going to take for AR to hit the big time? And when will AR become mainstream? What do you think in the audience? What do folks think? Show of hands. What's it going to take? And are you wondering, what is it going to take for AR to be mainstream? Anyone in the audience wondering that? A few folks. Charlie wants to know. That's good. Well, maybe some of you already think you know, and maybe you're with me on this, because I'm going to say today that it's already here. That 2017 was the year that AR went mainstream. And it happened without most of us noticing it. And we're going to get into that in just a second. So I think a lot of us in the room love immersive technology because we think it's a revolution in computing. It's going to change the way we do everything, the way we work, play, communicate, that it's going to help us escape the tyranny of the rectangle, that all of the information that we want and need to have is going to be all around us, all the time, beautifully represented in 3D with real-world metaphors that we all love. We're going to be able to learn better, be more productive, and do all these things more wonderfully than we ever have before. Now, the thing is about revolutions, it tends to feel like they happen all at once. That maybe there's this one defining event, and there's the revolution, and it happens. But that's not the way it really happens. The way revolutions work is it's a series of small changes. It's little, seemingly innocuous things that add up to finally turn something to the place where it goes to a tipping point. That's true of scientific revolutions, political revolutions, technological revolutions. I think it's true of XR. And so we've got a long history of developments behind this. I'm not going to labor most of them. I think we've seen talks ad infinitum at conferences like this about all the changes in the years and decades of XR development, right? So what instead we're going to do is look at what's just happened in the last 2 years. So arguably, inevitably you have to have a Pokemon Go slide in a talk like this. The watershed moment for mainstream AR was the introduction of Pokemon Go. And believe it or not, that was only 2 years ago now. I thought it was like 5 years at this point. And what that was about was creating a location-based, location-aware game that used the beloved intellectual property, the Pokemon, and brought people to locations that used it, that were playing the game to use it. And it used the camera. Used the camera to overlay little sprites of your Pokemon with an image of what the world was around you. Wasn't what we would really think of as true AR. It was very simplistic in its nature. But that game introduced the concept of augmented reality, which had sort of been wandering in this technical wilderness for years, to millions of people around the world. It was most people's first taste of augmented reality. From that development, we then got inspired and started seeing things like snap filters and Facebook filters. And we were experimenting with the camera and these effects on the world behind us, the back-facing camera, the front-facing camera with selfies. And this broadened the appeal of AR even more, beyond gaming to social uses, brand experiences, and more. right, with the camera at the center of the action. This is all now about the camera as the sort of gateway into this digital world. And it began to educate even more users, hundreds of millions of people around the planet with this cool tech. But when things really, really changed was last year with the introduction of ARKit by Apple. Now we had true spatially aware AR. It was no longer about putting little filters on the image or just dropping a bitmap in front of the image of the camera, but you had a 3D thing that you could then track with the phone, and it was really in the world. You were seeing it through the camera, through this little magic window, but it was real 3D digital content, and it responded to the environment around it. And then Google fast followed with ARCore, and we got to this place where we could actually create a digital world that blended so seamlessly with the physical one that, if properly crafted, could really do amazing stuff like this. And so we've got this sort of energy and attention that had been on VR, and then this explosion around AR happens, and there was just big shift. The shift from the business side, where content creators were saying, this is going to reach billions of people, because it is going to reach billions of people. We've seen the projections now. ARCore runs on about 400 million, ARKit rather, runs on about 400 million phones. Predictions for ARCore from Google are going to be even bigger, and so we're going to hit 1 billion phones. So everyone's energy moved over to this thing, which was all about now getting onto the phone. So if you were a VR developer last year, you may be an AR developer this year, and this includes entrepreneurs and investors and everybody, right? So now we have this stage set where we have these conditions of this mass market phenomenon. And isn't that great? Is that enough, though? No, of course it's not. I mean, we're going to need the applications. And the reason I think that AR went mainstream last year is we actually saw the apps deployed at scale, and I'm going to walk you through a few of them right now. So I don't know about a lot of you folks, but there was this feeling for the 6 months, the second half of last year, that after ARKit was introduced, there was all these cool things you could do with your phone. You'd look through your phone. You're up there, damn it, all right, woo, superstar. Cool things you could do through your phone, like put a sculpture in Golden Gate Park. I had some artist friends who built that, right? And wasn't that wonderful? And you'd have this experience that would last for like a minute. And that was what most of the experiences were in ARKit for the first 6 months of its existence. And then we saw the ARCore demos come out, very similar. And the reality is this. Development of those kinds of applications take a long time. To build a good game, it takes a long time. These things can't come out in like 2 months after the release of the technology. So we needed this bake period, and now what we're seeing is hundreds of applications in the app stores are built in AR. We know this at Unity because we have an analytics system that most of our developers opt in to use, and we know how many titles are out there released and that turn on ARKit and turn on ARCore. And it's hundreds of them. And this is from the Sensor Tower data right here, so this is some top ARKit games right here. But there's also other big ones coming out. We got, let's see here, Walking Dead, Our World by Next Games. It's not released yet. It'll be out on both of those platforms. And Jurassic World Alive by Ludia is out now for ARKit and ARCore. So gaming, the bellwether of health in the mobile app ecosystem, is now very well represented with AR. So that is amazing. Oh, and let's not forget Niantic's location-based AR game, Harry Potter Wizards Unite, should be coming out soon as well. So this bodes very well. Shifting gears to the enterprise for a minute, a company called Valorem, US and German-based, they're a Unity developer and Microsoft partner, solving problems for the automotive industry, extended their playbook into XR, building stuff for the HoloLens. So this is a virtual tire, right? And it shows you the sensors and some hidden features. And then they added to that, they took that same tire and added to that their HoloBeam technology that does remote telepresence using all these fancy tech things like WebRTC, HD depth cameras, Vuforia model targets, really advanced polygon reduction, and they can play it back in a HoloLens or a 2D screen. Here's a quick video clip of that. So, here we are seeing AR solve real business problems as well. We've seen gaming, and now the business applications. There's no way I don't have time to really go over all the different application categories. I do want to touch on one more, though, which is the one I'm working on now, which is brand experience. So we've probably seen these applications like IKEA Place that lets you design your living room, putting the furniture in, right? Or Amazon actually has an AR view now too, so you can see select products in your home first before you buy them. But those are delivered as bespoke applications. What if we could actually deliver this stuff dynamically as kind of brand experience and advertising content? So this, what you're seeing up here in this animation, was created by Riot Our friends down at Riot, down in LA, who are a great XR content creation shop, who were bought by the Huffington Post, who was bought by AOL, who was bought by Verizon. So they're all part of this conglomerate called Oath now. That also includes Yahoo and all the Yahoo properties. And so they added to the Yahoo Mail app, that regular old Yahoo Mail app that millions of people use, a way to do AR in there where you see a little, basically what they call a pencil ad. You click on a little link and it would launch an AR shopping experience right in there. And this was launched for last Christmas. This was Home Depot, decorate your Christmas tree. And it would close the loop all the way to the shopping page. And they got double the lift in terms of click-through, just because people knew there was an AR ad coming, so they tried it. You know, maybe it was the novelty. And they got great click-through rates, which demonstrates engagement to get to the shopping page. So that's pretty amazing. And now Unity's actually working on this as well. And I'm really pleased to talk about this because we've just come out of hiding with this one. Unity's Ads SDK, which reaches over 1 billion people every month into mobile games, is getting extended with AR capabilities. It's a project I'm working on. And we're live now with our first campaign, and it's with Disney's DuckTales. Right now it's in a private beta with a handful of developers testing the technology out. But I'm just going to run a little clip of this. And so what we did was use our ads technology. Is this running now? Yep, here we go. Used our ads technology to create basically a portal. A portal, so you walk through the phone into the world of DuckTales in a Scrooge McDuck's vault. And again, this is delivered as an ad unit. It is not delivered as a bespoke application. So the ramifications of this for brand advertising are pretty incredible, right? So now with ad-style technology, we can deliver these kind of insane AR experiences into everyone's phones. And we tried this at Unity last year with VR, and we did this wonderful pilot. A lot of you may have heard about it, where we created a virtual experience to go with Lionsgate's release of Jigsaw, the 5th movie in the Saw franchise last year. You can imagine what that experience was like, where you opted into an escape room you had to get out of in a minute. And that was really great, but it didn't reach that many people because there aren't that many VR headsets. But again, 1 billion AR-capable phones. And by the way, that's Unity's Helsinki development office. You're looking through that magic window, too. So with all that, I mean, so we've got these great applications happening. The stage is really set. So what is next? And what did Ori say yesterday? We're on the mountaintop looking down below. I mean, it really is like that. But, you know, there's still some challenges ahead, and I just want to talk about a few of them right now. And I'm not going to get too deep into tech, but I'll touch on a few of them. But first, let's look at kind of the market side of this. So the thing is, I think a lot of us are really excited, and Charlie, you talked about this in your keynote talk yesterday, really excited about this idea of getting the heads up with AR, about having smart glasses, these really lightweight, really comfortable things we could have on our face that give us the capabilities of a HoloLens, the capabilities of what we're hearing from Magic Leap, but are super light like regular eyeglasses, and this will somehow magically work. We are so not there yet. The display technology is not there. The miniaturization of electronics is not there yet. And we have a variety of answers we're hearing from industry about when that may happen. It may actually involve other technologies that aren't just about the display, like 5G networking, like edge computing, all these things where maybe we're computing in the cloud and streaming lots more bits of stuff. We're just not there yet. So where we're at now, if we're looking at headsets, is the kind of headsets we know with HoloLens and Magic Leap and these other industrial ones. And we see market projections from an IDC, from this slide, for example, which says a couple years out, there's going to be 25 million headsets. That's fabulous. That probably means enterprise use cases. And that's great. And that's kind of where VR is today. It's on the same order. It's, you know, a few tens of millions. That's all good. Now, compare that to what we're seeing for ARKore and ARKit projections. This is from Artillery Insights. It's 2 orders of magnitude different. We're talking in the billions by the end of 2021. We're at close to 3 billion, or over 3 billion by 2021. So that's kind of incredible. I mean, you just cannot match the scale. So here we are. We're in this world where there's going to be this dual world. We're going to have this consumer adoption through simple but totally scalable AR that will be spatial, and it will get better and better. We're going to have more face tracking. We're going to have body segmentation, things I'm going to talk about in a second. It's just going to get better, but it's never going to be like full slam and all these wonderful things you're hearing about at this conference. And then we have headsets to do the industrial use stuff. And that's just the way it's going to be until these smart glasses finally come along. So that's one thought. Think about that when you're thinking about how, you know, where you want to play in the world of XR and AR. That's the reality of how hardware is going to get deployed. Another thing that I think is really cool that I wouldn't have been thinking this way, and I was just so impressed by, is this idea of AR as a feature. We saw it with the Yahoo Mail app. It was their 2D mobile app, and they just added AR to do this one feature, which is show you great shopping experiences. Well, there's some great examples from this in lifestyle and news. Did anyone see that the Royal Wedding, the ABC News app, added an AR mode, and you could take a virtual stagecoach ride with the prince and new princess? Or David Bowie's those wonderful, iconic David Bowie costumes that were done, that were in the New York Times app, where you had a full 3D model floating around you in AR, with you in AR. And then, you know, there's some examples from gaming, including CSR Racing 2 from Zynga, a real wild hit where they let you basically put your race car in the real world and take a selfie with it or a video. And then this totally cool thing from Guns of Boom. It's a shooter game that uses AR as an esports spectator mode. It sticks a diorama of the field of play on your tabletop, and it's a full-on esports thing. I think that is the coolest thing ever. So adding AR as an incremental feature is a way great idea, because it means it's not an all-or-nothing proposition that you have to redesign your app that way. Yeah, there's going to be some ground-up great AR-designed games and other experiences, but that doesn't have to be the way it is for everything. So this is going to make it easier to develop, easier for your users to grok. So it's just a great way to bring this kind of magic into the ecosystem without undue stress. So I love that. Now let's talk about Unity for a second. So all of this really hinges on good content creation, and you know, I don't want to talk about our company too much in the context of this talk, but I'll just give you some insights into what we're thinking about, what matters to us. You guys know our 3 principles. You've probably heard them if you've heard any of our talks from a lot of our spokespeople. Democratize development, solve hard problems, enable success. We're extending that playbook into XR big time. Cross-platform reach. We reach more platforms than anybody. We've invested so much money, time, and energy working with all the hardware partners to make it work on their devices. And not only make it work on their devices, but let you program it the same way for all your devices. Really important to have this sort of write once, deploy everywhere kind of mentality around it, and we're really sticking to that. So there's an experimental package for Unity right now where you can basically write the same code and it'll work on ARKit and ARCore. We're starting there. We'll cover the other devices later. And an input system that'll match that, so you'll get the same inputs on all your devices. These are out in experimental form right now. Yeah. You're welcome. I take full credit. Yeah. Stability, I mean, so we implement this stuff. It's, you know, there's a lot of stuff is plugins, but, you know, for these key platforms, we're right there where we release it right in lockstep with all the big folks like Apple and Google and everybody else. And we do that. We're testing it. We're, you know, using our engineers to do it. So it's super stable and good. And then finally, fast iteration. We've worked a lot with AR on these remoting tools. If you've seen the HoloLens development one, you're in the Unity editor and you can see what the user sees in the editor, right? And so we're really kind of doubling down on that. We announced we're doing that with Magic Leap as well. We do that for ARKit and ARCore. And we even, this is not really about development, but we actually extended the HoloLens remoting so that there's runtime remoting. So you can run a fat PC with high polygon counts and do a really intense simulation and then use the HoloLens as just a display device. So that's super cool too. It's related, but it's slightly different. So yeah, that's what Unity is all about. And look, if we have more content creation, faster, better, that's just going to be more user experiences and more people loving AR. So we're going to do our part to help with all this. I've got 46 seconds, so I'm not going to be able to hit everything I wanted to say about this last little bit. But Charlie said it yesterday in his talk, and I love this quote. The world is about to be painted with data. It's so true. And the folks, and there's so many thought leaders talking about AR cloud. I hope you get to some of these sessions. There's probably a few left the next little while before the show's over tomorrow. There are a million problems to solve. Some of them are super hard. They're about serious computer vision and machine learning to recognize objects, to track faces, to track whole bodies through the back-facing camera, to segment so there's, you know, you can actually put someone in the, you know, the Eiffel Tower behind them, but they're dancing around in it. Persistent shared state, these are big deals. Some of these problems actually don't have to be solved today. They're not blockers. That might sound a little heretical. They're big problems we're going to solve over several years. They should not get in the way of using this amazing technology. And then finally, Charlie, you also talked about this yesterday, the universal browser. You're going to need to be able to wave your phone at anything and get whatever information people wanted to provide to you based on your intent and what you wanted to do. So these, you know, the content standards and interoperability around that with GLTF and these other wonderful technologies are going to be powering this, and they all come together, but this is a multi-year roadmap. So these are the kind of things that we can get stressed out about and worry about, but we shouldn't. Let's get back, you know, stick to the knitting for now. I mean, we're going to be solving these as an industry and as, you know, a community here together for the next couple of decades. So let's just kind of remember and get back to the one point here, which is that we're really on this precipice. We have released mainstream apps. I'm going to maintain the tech is mainstream now. It's time to double down on that. Build stuff that's super useful. Solve those business problems. On the entertainment side, bring the magic back, keep that magic going with AR, and it's right here in our grasp. And so I'm around until the end of tomorrow. Thanks for your attention. Wish I had more time. Wish I had you all had one neck so I could hug it. And it's great. You've been a great audience. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of AWE.